Welcome on in here to Wager Talk Extra. Another week of shows coming your way, getting you that actionable info you know and love across those extra sports. Doesn't matter what you're betting on, as long as you're cashing those tickets, that money is all going to spend the same. And on Tuesday's edition, we're going to start the week talking a little golf here because there's no news going on in the golf world. We got the RBC Canadian Open that we're going to be breaking down here today. Nick Borrman and Andy Lang going to give their full thoughts on the slate. So let's welcome in my man, Andy Lang. He's got your players that can trip you up, but I feel like every player probably got tripped up this morning on a Tuesday when they logged into Twitter and found out Live Golf bought golf. What happened there, Andy? And then we'll get into these players that can trip you up.
It sure looks like Saudi Arabia and Live Golf Tour just bought up PGA Tour. They are the chief investor now, and the PGA Tour leadership and Jay Monahan proves once again how spineless and gutless and how cowardly they are. They have the leadership skills of a jellyfish, and they just absolutely shanked their PGA Tour players in the back. These are players like Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy, especially Jordan Spieth, all of these guys, Hideki Matsuyama, that turned down a lot of money and went to bat for the PGA Tour. And the PGA Tour repays them by taking the money that they told the PGA Tour players not to take and then just letting their players know on Twitter. So it's an incredible day. It's an odd day. I'm not really sure how I'm going to feel about it in a year, but right now it feels completely and utterly disgusting. And so I guess we'll talk about the Canadian Open, which is now a part of the Saudi Arabian Tour.
There you go, RBC Canadian Open. Well, we'll see how this kind of affects things moving forward. But all we can do is trudge on forward and figure out these players that can trip you up. This name you have up first, Andy, kind of apropos for the news that just dropped. Players that can trip you up time. What do you got, Andy?
Well, I did this yesterday, not knowing that he's really going to be tripped up. And I don't think there's any other athlete on the planet that has been tripped up more this morning than Rory McIlroy. So I'll give you the reasons why I thought he was going to be a player that can trip you up this week. Well, first off, they're playing on a brand new course. This course has not been played at for the Canadian Open, and the website does a great job of showing you drone footage of each hole with a voiceover. So if you want to go over to WagerTalk.com, I have my free digital download, and it has a link so you can see all the holes. But so this course is going to play short. And Rory, his big struggle is his putting and his wedge game. And that's what this tournament is going to come down to. This is going to be a birdie fest, and you're going to need a person that has a really hot putter, and that's just not Rory's game. I mean, he can bomb the ball a mile, but everyone's going to be able to hit the ball long on this very, very short course. I just don't want to depend on Rory's short game. Everyone is going to be hitting wedges and very short irons into these greens. So I think it takes away Rory's big advantage. And now you have this bombshell that is dropped on him. They've got a major next week. Rory is going to be having to answer so many questions starting today, playing in the Canadian Open, trying to get ready for the U.S. Open last week. His public life has just been thrown into a complete chaos. So he's going to have to win this tournament or finish top 3 to return value. And after the news this morning, I am certainly not willing to back Rory McIlroy today. The second player that I think can trip you up is Tyrrell Hatton. He's having his best year on the PGA Tour, but I do not trust him the week before a major. So earlier this year, he played the Valero Open this season, and it was the week before the Masters, and he missed the cut. And I watched him, and I'm not saying he missed the cut on purpose so he could jettison the tournament early to get ready for the Masters, but we'll just say what he did on the 17th hole to miss the cut by 1 was quite curious. We go back to last year. What happened at this exact Canadian Open the week before the U.S. Open? Well, he shot +8, missed the cut by 6 shots, which is it's just a laughable score from him. He doesn't appear to really take these tournaments serious the week before a major, so he's having a great year, but there's no way I'm betting on him. That missed cut he had at the Valero Open, that was his only finish outside the top 50 this season, so I'm not really sure he's going to give his 100% full effort this week as he gets ready for the U.S. Open. So Rory McIlroy and Tyrrell Hatton, 2 players that I think can trip you up.
Yeah, and maybe names you'll be hearing a little bit later in the show. But Andy, let's get on into our DraftKings Darlings segment. You mentioned that they can head on over to your page at wd.buzz/AL and check out the full guide that you have for DFS lineups. But as far as some value plays you maybe see on the board, what are we thinking for this week's DK Darlings?
I'm gonna go a little crazy with some of these DraftKings Darlings. This is a strange tournament. It's the first time they're playing this course. It's the week before the U.S. Open, so I think the leaderboard can get a little wonky. So let's try and start with Aaron Cockerell at 7,000. This is a very solid European Tour player who has finished 21st or better in 5 straight European tournament events. He actually played in the Canadian Open last year and finished 48th. I know it's a different course, but he does have experience on the PGA Tour. It's a watered down field, a lot of unknowns. And he's from Canada, so he's going to have a little bit of extra motivation here to make the cut. I think he gets us weekend points. 7,000 is a really good price. Brandt Snedeker, here's a very strange name that we have not heard from in a long time. He's had a bad sternum injury this year and in the past. He actually played last week and he finished 41st, which is a really good finish coming off of the injury. He has great history in Canada, and his big weakness is he cannot drive the ball very far, but that's not a big deal at this course. He is fantastic with his irons, 18th in greens and regulation last week and 27th in approaches, strokes gained. That was at a really tough course. This course is way easier, so Brandt Snedeker looked okay coming off the injury at 7,000. And then finally, we're going to finish. I think Mark Hubbard is my favorite DraftKings darling right now. 7,300, another made cut last week. Good weekend points. He has 5 top 30 finishes in his last 6 tournaments. He finished 44th at the Canadian Open last year. Again, different course, but he's no stranger to playing up in Canada. And if you want the rest of the DraftKings lineup, that is on the free digital download at WagerTalk.com.
And what else are they going to find over at your page before we get the folks a best bet coming up here in just a few moments over at Andy Lang's page on Wager Talk? What are they going to see locked and loaded, and what kind of specials do you have up for our viewers today?
Well, it's a really good time to get into golf with me. We've kind of been breaking even over the last month or so, and I knew we were ready for a big tournament, and then we went 5-0 for 12 units last week. So really excited about how we look for the rest of the golf season. You can grab the golf pack that is up at WagerTalk.com, or if you want to use the promo code Andy7, it gets you a 7-day pass for $79. Get you all the golf plays. We have 5% play up in UFC for this weekend, so encourage you to go grab that up at WagerTalk.com. But golf, really, really looking good. We're bringing in the units, and I expect another winning week.
I love it, Andy. All right, best bet time here. I know it got shook up a little bit, but what's a little actionable info you have on the way out for today's episode?
Well, I said let's take Rory McIlroy over Tyrrell Hatton as my best bet, and I think I'm kind of locked into this one. So here was the rationale for this. So obviously these are guys that I said I was a little worried about. So I'm worried that Rory McIlroy might not return top 3 value. With Hatton, I'm worried he's not going to care and make the cut. So we have 2 very different scenarios. So Rory McIlroy, I just don't think he plays a tournament unless he's 100% dialed in. Earlier this year, he cost himself a lot of money by sitting out the RBC Heritage the week after the Masters, and he said, I'm just exhausted, so I need a break. So he sat out because he would rather get the rest and cost himself money, which costing money seems to be a theme for Rory McIlroy these days. But Tyrrell Hatton seems like he's okay with playing a tournament before a major, and missing the cut doesn't seem to bother him. He did it earlier this year. He did it last year. I expect more of the same from Hatton this week, and I don't think Rory plays unless he's really 100% dialed in and trying to win. This is going to be a roller coaster week, so I can't recommend a huge play on this one based on this morning's news, but I still like Rory McIlroy to play better than Hatton this week.
And Rory probably feeling like how Hatton looks in that graphic that we have there. Rough morning here, and it'll be interesting to see how it moves forward. Check out Andy Lang on Twitter to get some more thoughts for him at Bump Sports. Big thanks, Andy, for coming and joining us. We will talk to you tomorrow, talking a little UFC, but we're going to step aside, take a quick break, and then Nick Borman's going to have an outright winner for you, a top 10, a top 20 play. So don't go anywhere right here on Wager Talk Extra. Welcome on back here to Wager Talk Extra. We got Andy Lang's thoughts. So the other part of the Tea Time Duo, formerly known as the Tea Time Duo, Nick Borrman joining us. WT.buzz/NB is where you can find him at. And you always come on with a great outright for us. Talk a little top 10, a little top 20, but kind of tying in with all of it is taking a look at the top 10 strokes gained. And surprise to no one, the defending champion sitting at the top of that list. So why do you have this chart here for us, Nick? And what can we kind of extrapolate moving forward to this weekend's event?
Yeah, Dan, this chart is something we've been looking at now a couple weeks in a row, and it's really just where I start every tournament trying to figure out outright plays, because we know guessing outright winners is not an easy game to play. But this chart has proven effective in finding those. At the very top, you can see 18 of 31 Tour winners this season. So you're talking 58% of Tour winners this year have been within the top 10. This is top 10 strokes gained over the previous 12 months. So it's a rolling year-long measurement of how the guys are playing. And obviously, you're going to see the biggest names and the lowest odds in the field generally in this list. And sometimes what you'll see is I've kind of got columns here where it's 12 months, 6 months, and 3 months. You can kind of see the trend, right? If they are strong over 12 months and then been trending down or up, you can see like a guy like Tyrrell Hatton, who's third on the list, but he's been trending up big time over the last 3 months, as you can see, over half a stroke more than he has been over the last 12 months. So it kind of lets you know where guys are and what direction they're heading. But again, this is just a proven way to start finding outright winners. Of course, you're not going to get the guys that are 100-1 on this list, and you can always throw those guys in your mix. But this is where I like to start. And this field this week, Dan, 10 of the top 30 players in the world in this field. So obviously the U.S. Open next week, not quite as strong, but all 10 are right here in this graphic with Shane Lowry down in the notable section there. So all of them are here as expected, and really, you can see Rory rightfully at the top, two-time defending champ, Dan. They did not play this event in 2020 or 21 due to COVID. So he won in 19 and he won again last year in 2022. So two-time defending champ with a 2-year gap in between. Rightfully so, up at the top, but at 5-1. And that's the best number. A lot of books are at like 4 or 4.5-1. On the outright market, he's not really. He's an all eggs in one basket kind of guy this week. And I don't like to play that way. So I'm going to assume you might want to talk about maybe trying to find somebody else on the outright market.
Oh, that is a good assumption. And also it's funny because when we were talking with Andy Lang, we're also wondering how will this Live Golf merger, or I guess buyout is the better way to look at it, affect golfers like Rory McIlroy. So it's definitely something to look at moving forward here. So yeah, let's cross off some of those top names and find out, as you so eloquently put, some other names that we could look for here. Outright time from my man Nick Borrman, who continues to cash in with regularity for his clients. What's the free one you're giving out this week?
Yeah, we had a nice one, Emiliano Grillo, 2 weeks ago, 80-1, Dan. So he was one I ventured outside the top 10 list, and that was a good one. For the one I'm going to give out today on this show, I'm looking at the 5th name on this list, and we've talked about him before. That's Justin Rose, who is certainly having a resurgent year. And admittedly, we did miss the best in the number on Rose already, but at 18-1, he is on the higher end, I guess you could say, of this top 10 graphic. So I do like him this week. This course, it's the first time the Canadian Open is being played here, Oakdale, so you don't have any course history to go on, but they do a great job on the website of kind of panning out and seeing the holes, and you can get a visual for what this course looks like. It's very tree-lined, classical design, that the fairways are very narrow in the landing areas and sloped, so putting a premium on driving the golf ball. And Rose is accurate off the tee. He ranks 36th. Driving accuracy. His overall lack of distance, which is one of his weaknesses, is not going to be a detriment this week. It's not an overall long course. It's a par 72 at 7,200 yards, so that's kind of short by tour standards on a par 72. He ranks 20th in strokes gained approach, including first in this field, and he's gained strokes on approach in 10 straight starts. And during that run, he has 6 top 20s, including his win at Pebble Beach earlier this year. And while Rose falls a little outside the elite level in proximity to the hole, from 125 to 150 yards, that's going to be a number that's a lot of guys are going to be in this week because overall it's shorter. He ranks 48th in that category. Overall, he's 6th in proximity to the hole in this field. So with two more par 4s in play this week, this is par 72, but there's only 3 par 3s and 3 par 5s. Rose is solid in that department as well. He ranks 35th in par 4 scoring. So a lot of good trends or a lot of good data to back up why Rose should play well this week. And of course, he's in good form. So I think Rose 18-1. I think he should make a run for us on Sunday.
It's not quite 80-1, but 18-1, not too bad either. And you definitely want to grab those all-access plays from my man Nick Borrman, so you can get some of those 80-1s. Because, man, that would be a beautiful ticket to get home. And you get to brag to all your buddies about it, too. So definitely ride with my man, WT.buzz/NB. All right, before we get to it, what else are people going to find over at your page, locked and loaded at Wager Talk? And then you got a top 10, top 20 play for the folks on the way out.
Yeah, we have the golf pack available now. It's $19 for the 4 days, all outrights and all leaderboard plays for the week will be there. Of course, we have the U.S. Open next week, so it's also a good time to check out like a 30-day golf pass, which is $99, and it'll get you 30 days of coverage, and you'll get at least 5 tournaments if you buy this right on Wednesday before this week's event. And then soccer has the European seasons have ended, but we got MLS going, and that has been red hot. So continue to go there. My pack will be up later this week, but not quite posted yet.
I love it, Nick. All right, top 10, top 20, one name, 2 plays. What do we got for the folks before we wrap things on a Tuesday edition here?
All right, on this type of an event where you got a weaker field, this is where I like to go searching for a top 10, top 20 guy, a guy you're going to get a good return on that you might not be paying attention to. Joseph Bramlett is the name this week, Dan. Top 10, you're looking at 7-1. So if he finishes in the top 10, it's a better payout than it is for Rory McIlroy to win the tournament. And then you got him at top 20 at 3-1. And usually what I'll do is I'll put, if I'm going to invest maybe a unit or two on Bramlett, I'll put 2/3 of it on the top 20 and then 1/3 of it on the top 10. That way, even if he doesn't cash the top 10, but he's in the top 20, you're still bringing home a nice bank. He's been playing very well, Dan, as of late. 3 top 20 finishes in his last 5 starts. His strength on the tour is his length off the tee, which isn't necessarily needed this week. I already mentioned that. But if he can control it, that's certainly not going to hurt him. However, he has been consistently solid with his approach all season, gaining strokes in 14 of 17 starts this year. He also ranks 30th in greens and regulation percentage. So he's a good iron player. His biggest weakness is his putting. He ranks 149th in strokes gained putting. But anytime you see a new course, it kind of negates the elite putters from the field that know greens very well, right? So everybody's going to have a learning curve, on these greens, and it's going to kind of negate the negativity we're going to see behind Bramlett ranking so low. So it levels the playing field a little bit. I'm hoping that will be a kicker for Bramlett to, again, finish on that first or second page of the leaderboard come the end of the week. But his approach game is very, very good. Hoping that we can hide his putting this week with the new golf course.
I love it. That's Nick Borrman getting you all kinds of plays for this weekend. If you want the all access, head on over to wagertalk.com. Also, while you're there, check out the deals page because you never know how we're going to be saving you money at Wager Talk. Big thanks, Nick. We'll talk to you again next week. Hopefully you get home another nice big winner for the clients there. 80-1, man. I didn't get any text message about that should be what I was playing, but I guess I should have bought the all access from Nick. And that is going to wrap it for another edition here of Wager Talk Extra. We'll be back Wednesday talking a little UFC, a little boxing with my man Kevin Dolan. But until then, best of luck. I've been your host, Dan Alexander, and we'll see you next time on Wager Talk Extra.